For thousands, perhaps millions of years, human beings have suffered from the pain, the high arched feet, the numbness, and the loss of mobility we now call Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease. In 1886, three doctors, Jean-Martin Charcot, Pierre Marie in France, and Howard Henry Tooth in England, finally described this mysterious inherited condition that would come to bear their names. For another 100 years, very little progress was made. Families passed CMT down through the generations with little hope. In the 1950s and 1960s, scientists began to uncover the role of peripheral nerves and myelin in CMT. In the 1970s, a wave of academic research began to map out subtypes of the disease. In 1991, finally, a breakthrough. Research discovered that a duplication of the PMP22 gene causes CMT1A, the most common form. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, more CMT genes were discovered, resulting today with over 100 identified thus far. In 2018, the CMT Research Foundation was funded with one singular purpose and mission: to push translational research to its limits and to turn discoveries in the lab into treatments for patients. And now here we are, 2025, in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where a group of dedicated patients, researchers, clinicians, and biotech leaders have come together to celebrate a massive turning point. Count them, 6 active clinical trials for CMT, more than ever before in history. And more good news, another 3 additional programs are preparing to launch. Projects lead to trials. Trials lead to data. Data drives even better trials. And great trials will lead us to treatments and cures for CMT. Active clinical trials include Augustine Therapeutics, Applied Therapeutics, NMD Pharma, Encell, Acto Biosciences, and today, announced here for the very first time, Elpida Therapeutics. Elpida is a seminal gene therapy trial for CMT, supported by an $800,000 investment from the CMT Research Foundation, all powered by you. This will be known as the year everything changes, and you are part of that change. Welcome to the 2025 Global CMT Research Convention.
Hello and welcome. My name is Susan Ruediger, and I am the co-founder and the Chief Mission Officer of the CMT Research Foundation. Thank you so much for being here today. It's wonderful to see some really old friends in the room and to see a lot of new faces. We are really building this community. The momentum is building, and I think it all was really well characterized by Peter in that opening. We are at this really awesome moment. Did we think in 2018 when we founded this that we would actually have 7 clinical trials 7 years later? Did we think that we would have gene therapies for people with CMT coming right behind us? Did we think that we would be on the precipice of really having real hope for the little kiddos who are living with CMT? I'm so excited to be here. So thank you for being here with me. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. I have CMT1A, and I come from a family with 6 generations of CMT. I was a late walker. I wasn't walking at 18 months old, and my parents knew that I probably inherited whatever the family disease was. I do have the clicker, so I'm supposed to advance my photos. So this is me as a picture when I was a little girl, and you can see the cast on my leg. Always the dorky one, couldn't keep up when we were playing in the street. Not even a game of cops and robbers was something that I wanted to do. And I really thought of myself as being a dork or clumsy or klutzy or someone who just had no physical confidence. But I really didn't know why. I was definitely the first one out in dodgeball, and I was always the last one who was picked for the sports teams. Remember in PE where they'd be like, okay, I get John and I get Jill, and then they'd go, all right, you get Susan. Ugh. I mean, that was my life, and that was kind of tough to deal with. So when I was 17 and I found out that there was a reason for all of this, it was pretty awesome to know. And I was able to look around my family, and didn't I see my uncle's hands and the way that my grandmother used the cane, and man, I was afraid of her hands because they were bony and skinny, and she was kind of a spanker. And I didn't know that it was the CMT. So when I found out, it was quite a relief. Yes, I knew that was likely coming for me, but I also knew that there was a reason why all of this was going on. So here's a picture of my family and everyone. This was a family reunion a dozen years ago, maybe. And you can see my grandmother up there next to me at my wedding. And all the people with the yellow arrows, those are the ones who have CMT like me. And we got to do something about this, right? So our family reunions now have walkers and wheelchairs and leg braces and canes and, you know, it's awful. But the thing that's the worst is watching my cousin's kids. You can see Christopher here in the front and Maddie next to him. Um, they're the ones, I'm watching them lose their confidence in their bodies. And I'm watching them suffer emotionally from the devastating effects on this disease. I'm watching them turn inward as they're afraid of what their bodies are going to do. And they're the ones who are driving me to get this done. You know, my daughter's 21. She's the one in the pink t-shirt in the front there. Not 21 in that picture. And she doesn't have any signs, and we've never had her tested. So we're operating on the assumption that she doesn't have it. But that doesn't stop my resolve to get this done. So, you know, we can't rest. We can't rest. We've got these 7 treatments, these 7 trials, but that's not enough. We know some of these trials are going to fail, and we have to keep going because maybe one day one of these treatments will work for me and I'll be able to slow, stop, or maybe even reverse my progression, but it's not for me. It's for these guys. And it's for the 3 million people who live in the world with this disease. And it's for all those kids in the next generation. It's for the grandparents to know that there's an end to the legacy that they might have passed down. It's for the parents to say, I can do something for my kid. And it's for the kids who don't have to hear the, oh, we got Susan. You know, this is what we're doing it for. I'm so grateful that you guys are here. We've got in this room some of the best scientists, some of the best researchers, some of the best clinicians, some of the best drug development companies, and then also this awesome group of patients. You are all here to help solve this problem. And I'm so grateful that you're here. So thank you for being here. We are not only doing this for me and for my family and for the kids, but we're also doing it for my very good friend and colleague, Chelsea Layton. You want to come on up, Chelsea? Tell your story. Love you. Yeah.
Thank you, Susan, for the introduction and for the privilege to not only work together with you in this fight for CMT, but to also stand on stage with you today. Hello, and welcome again to the 2025 Global CMT Research Convention. My name is Chelsea Layton, and I'm the Community Engagement Manager at the CMTRF. And if you've attended our conferences in the past, then you've seen my face and you've heard most of my story. Because of my CMT, I ended up having 13 surgeries in 11 years. At least I think that's the number. I truly stopped counting after 10. Surgery after surgery also meant recovery after recovery. And that healing and recovery significantly limited me in my professional career and personal life. And after being held back so heavily from my prime young adult years, my view for the future started getting more and more pessimistic. Who's going to hire somebody that requires 3 months of recovery a year? Who would want to start a life with a girl with a disability? And even further, how could I possibly be a mother? Because of my CMT, I felt that decision was made for me. I've seen how it has spread through 4, 5 generations of my family. I knew what it was like. I know what it's like growing up with this disability. Teased about my athletic failures, ostracized because of my skinny and low muscle tone appearance, stumbling around and trying to stave off the pain. I really had little hope for the future. To me, my path had already been decided. But then the CMT Research Foundation came along. I met Susan prior to the CMTRF coming to fruition, and I knew that she was somebody to watch and somebody just to keep an eye on, and I did. And just after a year of operation, I was seeing strides being made for CMT treatments that I'd never seen before. Collaborations were being made, the right science is being funded. It was finally a hope for the future. So much hope, in fact, that I finally felt that for the first time that I had control over my future and my path. A future of treatments, a future without CMT. Wow, I mean, even with my 50% chance of passing on my duplicate PMP22 gene, I knew that there was a future at least with options. And because this door was open for me, thanks to the devoted researchers and scientists in CMT, another door was able to open for me. The door to a family. In January of 2022, I gave birth to a beautiful, healthy baby, Amelia. You might hear her chattering right now. If you're here in person today, you're probably going to see her running around. She's now 3.5 years old, and boy, does she have some energy. And if you let her, she'll talk your ear off. I've always been drawn to caring for youth. I started babysitting when I was 12 years old. I did social work for youth villages. I spent years working with kids with neurological imbalances. But despite my obvious love to help kids, I always felt like I was just shutting part of myself away. But it was so freeing to be able to make the decision, my decision, to start a family. And that freedom has allowed me to continue to shape into the person I feel that I'm meant to be. I no longer identify as a surgical patient. I'm a mother. Motherhood is one of life's greatest gifts for me. It's a journey filled with love and unforgettable moments. It's the quiet snuggles, the laughter that fills the room, and the pride of watching my child grow into her own unique person. Being a mother means having the chance to shape a life with unconditional love while also discovering new strengths and depths within yourself. It certainly has its challenges, especially parenting with a disability, but the reward far outweighs them. And I am able to experience it because of my hope now. So I hope that if you've ever been in my shoes, felt like you were robbed of choice and set on a course that you can't control, that today you are able to find hope. Compared to 5 years ago, the research being done for CMT is bigger understanding, bigger clinical trials, bigger projects, bigger conferences. In fact, Susan mentioned last night that she had 42 meetings after this year's annual bio convention, which is one of the largest events for the global biotech industry. 42 people she connected with this year. The CMTRF has funded 5 therapeutics that are in preclinical or active trial stages. A collaboration we invested in with DTX was acquired by a large pharmaceutical company, Novartis. Together as a community, more researchers are being made aware of CMT, more projects are being funded, and more progress is happening for CMT than ever before. We are bigger. Our community is growing, momentum is building, and technology is developing. I hope you all enjoy the science that is going to be shared with you today, and that it sparks more than hope for you, that today brings positive change in your life. I would like to end my talk with a quote from Henry Ford that I think describes simply the importance of the work that we are doing at the CMT Research Foundation. Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success. So let's keep working together. And now it is my honor to introduce to you the CEO of the CMT Research Foundation, Laura MacNeill. Laura has more than 15 years of experience as a senior nonprofit executive responsible for strategic planning, innovative marketing, fundraising, raising public awareness, just a little bit of everything, what we need. Before I knew this, before I'd even formally met Laura, I could tell she was going to be a champion for the CMT community because she just fearlessly jumped in. And it's been an absolute privilege working with her this past year as we strive for treatments for all types of CMT. Everybody, Laura MacNeill.
For a second there, I thought she said 50 years of experience, but 15. 15. Thank you. Thank you. As Chelsea said, I'm Laura MacNeill. I am one of the newest members of the CMTRF team, and I have the honor and privilege to work every day with both of the women you just met, and many of other people in the room here today that are helping pull this organization this weekend off. So staff this weekend are wearing green lanyards versus regular attendees black. Board members are also in green. So if you see that and want to say hello and introduce yourself, please do so. That's what this weekend is about. When I joined CMTRF, I knew and felt pretty confident I was going to bring a lot of experience from the nonprofit sector into this wonderful, beautiful mission. But quickly I became aware of the personal side of what this group was working on. For years, I navigated symptoms like difficulty with proprioception and balance. I have frequent foot and leg cramps, shooting nerve pain in my feet. And sometimes I find myself concentrating just to avoid stumbling, tripping over nothing. And I did not think that these experiences really linked to my father's history of neuropathy. I don't know how to advance the slides.
Hi, we're the
I did not
Bird
get
Show.
permission
Very,
to share
very
this.
happy,
1970s.
grateful that we
Insert
are
a
the-
picture.
Here, the Bird
So
Show.
hopefully nobody's watching from home.
And we love bringing awareness.
Far right, in the
$2 for
beautiful
CMT
decision
research.
to wear a vest.
We're already
with no
set up
shirt.
for our 2026
is my dad.
And
And in the early 2000s, he had neuropathy all the way up to his knee. He was told at a clinician, he went to a doctor in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and was told this is Charcot-Marie tooth disease. And this is pretty much how this disease was described to me. I asked, am I going to die? And the doctor said, no. And he said, am I going to lose my legs? And the doctor said, no. And he said, well, life goes on. So to say that education and communication about this is pretty slow and unknown in my family is pretty true. My dad, there's one sibling missing, but he's one of 7. My grandmother, Marie, in the middle there, suffered from CMT her whole life, did not have a name for it before she passed. And everyone circled in red has now been diagnosed with CMT on their own at different clinician offices, but nobody has taken a genetic test. Nobody had, anyway. So I came to this mission and this organization not knowing that I was going to be a part of this community so intimately. But in this room last year, sitting at a table right over there with a friend of mine now, Nancy, I sat and shared stories just like you're going to do today and learned how long the list of symptoms I had that everybody in this room is experiencing on their own that can be linked to this disease. It was in this room last year that I finally found the courage to face a diagnosis, to go to a center of excellence, to see a physician and start this journey. So I realized my symptoms were part of a wider story. Like so many of you facing rare forms of CMT, the process of diagnosis can be lengthy and uncertain, requiring both patience and individual advocacy. Every step, every symptom, every question brings us closer as a community and moves us towards better research, understanding, and support. I don't know if somebody, can you guys help me go the other way? Thank you. One more. Nope, that wasn't it. Oh, not yet. Okay, hang on. So if you're in the room today and you know that your CMT subtype, what that is, or if your diagnosis is still uncertain, a variant of unknown significance. Please know that CMTRF is dedicated to finding treatments and ultimately a cure for every single one of you. Our mission is to ensure that no form of CMT is left behind, funding research and accelerating solutions for all types. Every story matters in advancing our shared work. So please join me in watching this short video. Together, we're moving closer to answers and hope for everyone affected. Let's take you deeper into our mission, our climb to change the future for everyone with CMT. It's a tough climb, but getting approved drug therapies for every type of CMT is a peak we're ready to conquer. And here's the thing, we're not starting from scratch. With the 1A Endgame campaign, we proved that real progress is possible. We didn't just move forward, we moved fast. We broke new ground, brought in powerful voices, and welcomed companies ready to tackle CMT head on. And we tore down obstacles that stood in our way. Pharmaceutical companies have taken notice. Major investments, acquisitions, and breakthroughs prove that this can be done. But we're not stopping at 1A. It's time to bring therapies to every type of CMT. By applying bold, forward-thinking science, we're fast-tracking therapies into clinics, clearing roadblocks, pulling in partners, and reinvesting revenue into new discoveries. Together, we can summit this mountain quickly, strategically, and united. The climb is tough, but the view is a world without CMT. That one. So what comes next? What comes next for CMT research is truly promising. We spent the last day and a half hearing from some of the most brilliant, thoughtful, empathetic researchers, clinicians, and scientists that I promise this room are working hard every day to advance treatments and therapies for all of you. We're building bridges, we're sharing what we know, and we're making connections. And that's what this weekend was all about. So today we stand on a brink. As you heard, clinical trials are launching. Some are going to work, some are going to fail, but all of them are going to teach us what we need to do next. And this community is ready to pivot and take what we're learning and not stop at the first roadblock. So at this moment, CMTRF is driving innovation. Right now, the number of the dollars, the value of the research that we have requested of us totals $7 million. And that's just in the past quarter. And that is a daunting number. It's not meant to intimidate. It's meant to say, there's a lot out there. There are a lot of questions that researchers are ready to answer. And CMTRF is going to meet that challenge. Like many of you, this mission goes beyond science and numbers. For me, of course, it's personal. My own story starts with this big family that is marked by the disease. I now have the sincere pleasure and responsibility to not only steward this foundation, but steward my own family's journey to figure out exactly what's happening with us and our inherited neuropathy. And the math is clear. Unless we achieve our mission, half of our next generation is going to face the same burden as we face in this room. So I also didn't get permission to share any of these pictures, but these are a little better. My parents on the far left, my siblings and I in the middle, and on this side is just my father's grandchildren, the 5 kids. But of that large Catholic family you saw in the first picture, I have 18 first cousins and 21 in the next generation that I'm going to help try to figure out what's next. So what we're working on next at CMTRF is advancing and raising money for the current research portfolio. But we have some big important questions that we need to answer as a community. What will drug pricing look like once new therapies start to reach approval? And how can we ensure advocates and insurance recognizes and covers new CMT treatments? And how do we make sure that our efforts stretch far enough so no CMT subtype or patient is left behind by new innovations.